First Kill was a supernatural fantasy teen drama series starring a Romeo and Juliet-esque relationship between a vampire and vampire hunter. The show released on June 10, 2022 on Netflix, and I ended up binge watching the entire series in 2 days. I was surprised that I enjoyed the show as much as I did. Sadly, Netflix recently decided to cancel the show after just 1 season, much to the dismay of fans all over the world. Like my Tia was on fire over the news. So I decided to show some appreciation for the series and share my thoughts on it. So the show surrounds the lives of 2 families, the Fairmonts, the vampires, and the Burns, the monster hunters. And shocker, these are the 2 families of our 2 main protagonists, Juliette Fairmont and Calliope Burns. Let's get into the Fairmont family. So there are 2 sub-races of vampires in the First Kill world, normal vampires and legacy vampires. Legacy vampires are born as vampires, can walk in daylight, and can't die by silver. Juliette's family are legacy vampires. Silver is the weakness of vampires in this show, and I find that interesting because that's usually a werewolf thing. But you know, the show is unique. Regular vampires can't do anything that legacy vampires can, so yeah. Basically, Juliette wants to not drink human blood and kill people. So you know, a typical goody two-shoes vampire that we see in media. And her family doesn't want that, so they take away her special hunger curbing blood pills to try and push her into drinking human blood at the beginning of the series. And it's important for Juliette to drink human blood because she's turning 16 and her consecration ceremony is coming up. A consecration ceremony is basically a coming of age ceremony where legacy vampires are bitten by the Emerald Malkia, which is the mother snake of the vampire race. The thing is, you have to drink human blood before the ceremony because the snake could tell if you haven't and refuse to bite you, and that would make for a very embarrassing moment. I like that vampire society in this show is a monarchy. The female vampires have all the power and can become keepers of the Emerald Malkia. Juliette's family are the current keepers of the snake and the leaders of the vampire world. However, the keeper status could always be transferred in between families. So you can imagine how cutthroat legacy vampire society is, because you got a whole bunch of power-hungry vampire families preying on your downfall. Juliette's parents are Margot and Sebastian Fairmont. Margot is a loving but stern mother who tries her best to appease her mother, Denisa, or Grandma Atwood as I like to call her, despite being treated as the family disappointment for marrying the vampire that she turned, aka Sebastian. Sebastian actually starts out as one of my favorite characters on the show because he's such a supportive father who's like the moral conscience of the Fairmont family, but then Sebastian becomes annoying as hell after being saved from death by the Emerald Malkia. Juliette has 2 siblings, Eleanor and Oliver, who are fraternal twins. Juliette's sister Eleanor can erase people's memories and compel them to do her bidding. She's a mean girl. She's a terrible person, but I kind of like her. I don't know. Eleanor keeps things interesting on the Fairmont side while Jules is out with Calliope. She's a sadistic Regina George. The bitch may be murderous and crazy, but her attitude is queen, like I'm sorry. Oliver is the black sheep of the family and he's been exiled from the family because Eleanor manipulated him into killing several people throughout their childhood and manipulating her parents into thinking that Oliver was evil. So of course Oliver got beef with Eleanor and the rest of the family. Now let's get into the Burns family. So Calliope Burns is very headstrong. She had a chance to kill her first monster while on a hunt, but failed. And since then her family likes to keep her away from the action as much as possible. If she joins them on a hunt, she's the lookout. So basically Calliope wants to prove to her family that she can be a great hunter. Calliope's parents are Jack and Talia Burns. They're so badass. One thing about Miss Talia Burns, don't play with her.
This is some bullshit.
Hey, you really want me to lose my religion tonight, huh? No, baby, I know that's the adrenaline rush from that kill talking, but you better watch your language in my house. Hear me?
Mom, can I please tell him to go to hell?
Yeah, sure, if you got somewhere else to live. Our house is trash. Because you can't follow one simple rule. Don't steal shit.
Talia loves her kids and family so much. So does Jack, but he often finds himself having trouble with his priorities and letting his desire to advance in status as a monster hunter cloud his judgment.
Look, what I'm saying is that if she's not with us when we're out there, then we're not a family. You understand?
Okay, stop. She is our daughter first.
I know that.
No, sometimes I think you forget. Sometimes you put our duties as hunters before everything else. And sometimes I want you to respect how I feel. Respect my position instead of always trying to think of ways to bring me around to yours, because it's exhausting, Jack.
Calliope has two brothers, Theseus or Theo and Apollo. Their family has a thing for Greek mythology, but we never find out why in the show. Theo's the oldest Burns child, and he's very reserved and plays by the hunting guild's rules. Theo is actually Apollo and Calliope's half-brother. Theo's biological mother was Jack's first wife, and she got murdered by a legacy vampire when he was 7. Apollo was basically the arrogant fuckboy archetype, very full of himself, acts without thinking, and this always gets him in trouble. Apollo and Theo are polar opposites of each other, so they tend to butt heads.
I'm sorry, that's my bad. I'll fix it.
I don't want you to fix it. She made that frame. I want you to think before you act.
Oh. Is that why you walk around with the stick up your ass because you think before you act?
Hey, both of you, shut up and clean up before I lose my temper.
I personally like the system that the monster hunters in this series has. They get relocated to wherever the Monster Hunting Guild wants them to be. The guild gives them mundane jobs to use as a cover, and before fully moving in, the guild has guild guardians do cleansing rituals of the house to ward off evil spirits. I don't know, every time I see a movie or TV show of vampire hunters or monster hunters, the hunters are boring, and they're never seen as interesting as the vampires, so I'm happy that First Kill doesn't fall into that pattern. I think First Kill was a case of the cast and production crew doing the best they could to portray this fantasy-filled world with the subpar budget that Netflix gave them. Because the CGI in this show isn't great. And some of the camera angles and cutscenes were questionable. And the fight choreography wasn't the best either. You could really tell that the production team wasn't given a lot of budget to work with. There's also a gripe that I have with a minor part of the show's story. So Juliette has a childhood best friend named Ben, who's popular and is in a DL relationship with the closeted popular boy named Noah, who also has a girlfriend. Yeah, it's messy. But my point is, there's a scene where Ben and Noah are fighting because Noah sees Ben as a booty call and Ben wants more out of the relationship. But during their argument, Ben takes a pic of Noah's junk without his consent and refused to delete it when Noah asked him to. So that's just a very, very weird move on Ben's part, truly. And right after this happens, a monster attacks the school, and the situation never gets addressed because Noah dies during the attack. It's just a very weird thing that happened, and I don't really see the point in it being in the show. For it to not get addressed like that, what was the point of putting it in the show? I just don't like it at all. I will continue to rave about the monster hunters in this show because I really like the Burns family, and I love that they balance their family life with their monster hunting life, despite them being on the clock 24/7. The show and the actors do a great job of showing their characters' love for one another. One thing that broke my heart in the show is Theo's storyline, because it's so sad, and it's all stemmed from his eagerness and wanting to investigate his biological mother's murder, and unfortunately that ended in his death and Juliette turning him into a vampire, the very type of monster who killed his mom. But the reveal of his vampirism is what gagged me, because Apollo and Calliope were just crying over seeing his dead body in a bathroom stall. And then after walking home and getting ready to tell their parents this heartbreaking news, they see Theo at the dinner table eating steak, all happy and perky. I was like, what the hell is going on? I will say that some of the best acting to come out of this show was Auburn Weiss in her role as Talia Burns, especially in the show's final episodes. Her willingness to defend Theo against Jack, that's a mother's love right there. Mind you, Talia isn't even Theo's bio mom. Jack was ready to kill his own blood-related son without hesitation the moment he found out he was a vampire. See, that's why I don't like Jack. I mentioned earlier that he got messed up priorities, right? He's too caught up in being a monster hunter and not thinking like a father. Talia drew a weapon on Jack to protect Theo. So when you think of the word mother, you better be thinking of Talia Burns. Juliette and Calliope have such great chemistry, it's so adorable. Their flirting and their kiss scenes made me melt. Straight from the first episode, you can see that the actresses had an amazing connection on screen. Their fight in the last episode made my heart ache. I also like that Jules and Cal find out the truth about each other like very early in the series. Because when it comes to fantasy shows, it tends to take a few episodes for the two love interests to find out about their secrets. Plus, I really like the overall parallels between Calliope and Juliette's respective dilemmas and how that relates to the show title. Juliette needs to kill her first human to be formally accepted into vampire society, and Calliope wants to get her first monster kill so she can make her parents proud and get her little hunting a monster tattoo. They end up fulfilling these goals while in the process of defending each other, and I think that's really cute. Now, y'all can call this show corny, and it kinda is, but guess what?
IDGAF. I don't give a fuck. Period.
Cause one thing about me, I'ma eat a fantasy romance show up. Vampire Diaries, Beauty and the Beast, Once Upon a Time, and I'm slowly but surely binge watching T-Wolf and Shadowhunters. I want to start Game of Thrones too. I need y'all to walk with me. Most of the shows I just mentioned feature straight couples as the main protagonists. It would have been nice to see a sapphic couple have their own time in the spotlight in a long-running fantasy show. Sure, First Kill's theme song was cliche, and they don't shy away from mentioning Romeo and Juliet on the show a couple times. But I really don't take those things that seriously. We're not going to talk about some of the choices of background music during some scenes because they were definitely choices. Overall, I think people were being too critical with First Kill. Because after seeing some of the headlines of the review articles the day the show dropped on Netflix, I was scared for the worst. Come to find out, the show's not that bad. Sure, it has its flaws and I have some problems with it, but the actors did their best with what they had and I enjoyed it. I hope that First Kill will get renewed for a second season and Netflix will expand its budget, but as we all know, Netflix makes bad business decisions and cancel shows without a second thought. First Kill Season 1 had some really great potential, and it's sad that we'll never get to see that potential being utilized.